The roots of the Second Congo War stretch back into the heart of Africa's colonial scars and the aftermath of the Rwandan Genocide. In 1994, Rwanda was devastated by a genocide in which nearly 800,000 people, mostly Tutsis, were massacred by extremist Hutu militias. When the Tutsi-led Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, seized power in Rwanda, over 2 million Hutu refugees, including genocidaires, fled into neighboring Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of the Congo, particularly to its eastern provinces. These refugee camps became militarized, housing not only innocent civilians but also former Rwandan soldiers and militias known as the Interahamwe, who began launching cross-border raids into Rwanda. The then president of Zaire, Mobutu Sese Seko, a corrupt and aging dictator, allowed this chaos to fester, giving Rwanda every reason to act. To neutralize the threat on its border, Rwanda, alongside Uganda, backed a rebel group in eastern Zaire led by Laurent Kabila. They launched a campaign to overthrow Mobutu. In 1997, with the support of Rwandan and Ugandan troops, Kabila's Alliance of Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Congo, AFDL, marched westward and captured Kinshasa. Mobutu fled, and Kabila declared himself president, renaming Zaire as the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC. But peace was not to last. Once in power, Kabila turned on his former backers, Rwanda and Uganda, ordering their troops to leave the Congo in 1998. Rwanda, alarmed by the resurgence of Hutu militias in the DRC, refused. Tensions escalated rapidly. Kabila replaced Tutsis in his army with loyalists and began forging alliances with former enemies, including Hutu groups involved in the 1994 genocide. This betrayal ignited a new and far more devastating war. In August 1998, a new rebellion began. A Rwanda and Uganda-backed group called the Rally for Congolese Democracy, RCD, launched an uprising in the east. Rwandan troops once again crossed into Congo, capturing key towns at lightning speed. Meanwhile, Uganda supported a separate rebel group, the Movement for the Liberation of Congo, MLC, led by Jean-Pierre Bemba. Kabila's regime was cornered and on the verge of collapse until a dramatic twist occurred. In a stunning diplomatic and military maneuver, Kabila secured military support from Angola, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Chad, and Sudan. These nations sent thousands of troops, tanks, and fighter jets to support Kabila's government. The Congo had now become the battleground for 9 African nations and over 25 armed groups. The war front spread across the vast jungle terrain, stretching from the volcanic mountains of Kivu to the copper mines of Katanga and the riverine heart of the Congo Basin. While government and rebel forces clashed, civilians bore the brunt. Massacres, looting, rape, and starvation became widespread. What made the Second Congo War uniquely brutal was the sheer number of factions and overlapping agendas. Rwanda wanted to eliminate the Hutu militias and control the resource-rich east. Uganda sought influence in the north and access to Congo's mineral wealth. Angola feared rebels using Congo as a base. Zimbabwe had economic interests and close ties with Kabila. Rebels wanted power, resources, and in many cases, vengeance. By 1999, the country was effectively split in 3. The government in the west, the RCD in the east and south, and the MLC in the north. All sides engaged in horrific abuses. Child soldiers were recruited en masse. Mass rape became a weapon of war. Disease and hunger swept through villages and cities alike. In July 1999, the Lusaka ceasefire agreement was signed by all warring states, and the United Nations mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo MONUC was deployed. But the peace was fragile. Rebel groups continued to fight, foreign troops stayed, and looting of Congo's vast mineral wealth diamonds, gold, coltan intensified. A UN report later accused Rwanda, Uganda, and Zimbabwe of plundering the DRC's resources during the conflict. On January 16, 2001, Laurent Kabila was assassinated by one of his own bodyguards in Kinshasa. His son, Joseph Kabila, took over. Young and relatively unknown, Joseph took a different path. He reached out to the West, opened negotiations, and tried to bring peace. His efforts led to a slow but crucial de-escalation. By 2002, a series of peace deals were brokered, Uganda withdrew its troops. Rwanda agreed to leave in exchange for the disarmament of Hutu militias. A transitional government was established in 2003 with power sharing between Joseph Kabila, rebel leaders, and opposition parties. The Second Congo War officially ended in July 2003, but the violence never truly ceased. Though the war ended on paper, the DRC remained unstable. Armed groups continued to plague the East. The conflict left a devastating toll. 4 million people dead, mostly from disease and starvation. Millions displaced. Countless women and children traumatized, orphaned, and abused. Massive environmental and economic destruction. The Second Congo War is often called Africa's World War due to the scale of involvement. Yet, it remains one of the least understood and most underreported conflicts of the modern era. Even today, Congo's eastern provinces are plagued by violence. Groups like the M23 rebels, ADF, and various militias continue to terrorize civilians. The legacy of the war lives on in the scars of survivors, the shattered infrastructure, and the quest for peace that remains unfinished. The Second Congo War was not just a regional conflict, it was a reflection of colonial legacies, international greed, ethnic tension, and political betrayal. It is a dark chapter in Africa and history, but one that must be remembered if peace is ever to be achieved. Subscribe to our channel for more videos.